everyone. Welcome to Embody Her Live. I am here this evening with one of my dear friends, Kristina Owens. Hi, Kristina.
Hi.
Hi. That was a voice. So Kristina is an educator by day and a small business owner full time. So tell me a little bit about your business.
Sure. I'll start with the educator part first because some of the stuff we're gonna talk about has to do with that. But so I'm an emotional support teacher. I have been for 21 years. Most of it now in the school district of Lancaster. And as time has gone on, I kind of feel like your path takes you where you need to go. So I didn't know I was going to teach emotional support. I interviewed for a job 21 years ago, got it, didn't know a thing about it. It led me on a path to become a school counselor, which I got that degree about 12 years ago, but I've stayed in the classroom and it's really helped me there. And then a couple of years ago, I started thinking about, what would I do if I wasn't a teacher, or what will I be when I grow up, so to speak. And I've always loved to plan parties, mostly because I feel like we need to celebrate things in life, and we need to celebrate each other and our successes and ourselves. And so I've decorated parties just like for friends and family and just my backyard parties. And
Which I heard are amazing.
Yeah. You're coming this summer, right?
I'm going to be there. Yes, I promise.
So my business partner, Becky Falco, and she also had like a similar interest. And so we were like, when are we going to pull the strings? Let's just do this. And so we opened our business in October of 2023. And
oh, wow. Not that long ago.
And it's definitely had a learning curve. And I don't know the business land the way that I know the education land, and they operate very differently. And so learning that is a journey that I'm just beginning on, but I'm excited about. And all of you sitting in this room have been really helpful to me in that process, but I definitely, we're getting there. Yeah. We're getting there.
I feel like no matter how far you are in the entrepreneur journey, you never stop learning.
Yes.
It tests everything from your patience, your self-worth, to your friendships.
Yes.
Around. And I think that's been probably more along the last year or so that everyone's felt that. Because I think people are just more open and more in tune with their emotions and really using their awareness to navigate those relationships in the business world.
I agree.
So being an educator and then navigating that too, what do you feel like we need to tie in more of being more aware of ourselves and relating to other people in that?
So as far as, I would say just keeping in mind what your own goals are, and being able to keep that perspective and not stray from that too much. Also, just to be able to learn and be open. So you kind of go into, I'm a person that needs to go into something and have a complete plan. And this has been hard for me because I don't have that plan, because I don't even know what it looks like. And, in education, you go in, this is what you're going to do. And then you might head here, but it's sort of more structured. In business, it's definitely not. And one road can take you here, another road can take you another place.
Absolutely.
So I think that open-mindedness, but also just keeping your own goals in mind. But also what I've learned too is, through this community of people that I've been around and I'm grateful for, is lift each other up. And spend your time doing that. There's a place for all of us at the top, and we're not fighting for that spot.
Right.
We're just empowering each other to all get there. So I think that's what I'm learning so far.
That's a tough one, but more collaboration over competition is really where it's at. Because what makes you unique in your business is what who you are as a person and what you bring, so to speak, to the table, I guess we would say. How do you feel your experience, though, as an educator for so many years has helped you navigate that space of the unknown?
Yeah. So I never know what's going to happen day to day in the classroom. And I think that flexibility. So I teach emotional support. So it's students that have been identified with having and an emotional disability that affects their learning. And so their behaviors impact their ability to learn. So there's mental health issues tied in there too. For many of them, sometimes academic as well. So like you can go on in any day and have this like grand plan, but then, you know, somebody might have had a traumatic event or didn't eat breakfast or there's a fight on the bus and your whole situation is thrown for a little bit. And so you just have to have that flexibility. So I think I'm coming in with that. Also like a large understanding of how to interact with people and communicate, and communication is huge, I think, in the core of almost everything that we do. And so having that strength in that area can carry over to business as well. So I would say those are what education has prepared me for in this way.
So with the healthy communication and talking about how obviously in a classroom and kids need to communicate their feelings in that relationship in the business world, because you have a partner, not every entrepreneur has a partner in that. So how do you use that to strengthen your relationship and not deteriorate it or caused emotional burnout in that instance?
Yeah. So you definitely, I mean, you're going to get to know your partner's strengths and their weaknesses, and
it's like a marriage.
Yes, definitely it is. And so you get to know a person very differently in that light. Becky and I both, well, Becky's also a high school counselor. So we kind of we both have another full-time job. We come from that perspective where there's a lot going on in our lives. But we both have that compassion, and we always want to see other people growing and successful and happy. And so like when we stand back after decorating an event and we get to watch the people at the event having a good time, like that's what brings us joy. When we can bring a person's vision to light, like that's what is rewarding to us. So we carry that similar mindset in what we're looking for and how we're going to achieve it. Now, when we don't agree, you know, we just have to communicate. And once again, I feel like that's where that comes to play. You know, you're different people. You're not always going to see eye to eye. So how do you navigate that? And even in the design land, like, what does that look like?
That's probably a big struggle, actually, because the relationship you have to develop with your client, how to communicate effectively with them. And then what if they don't like what you did?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that? I loved everything they've ever done. Okay? Just saying.
I was like, is she trying to hint around about something? No,
no way. But here's what I do. At any of the events, and we have Jen who also does balloons, and they usually tie everything in together. They'll be like, what are you thinking? I'm like, I don't know. I just want this color, or I just want it to feel.
There's a lot of people that.
Whatever. Yeah. And I will tell you 100% of the time, it is fucking better than I ever imagined in my head.
Oh,
I'm always like, how did you know what I wanted and put it out there physically? I loved it. Yeah, everything. But how do you navigate that with people?
Yeah. So I often tell people, like, show me examples of what you would want, because then I can like visualize it too. And then I'll put my own spin on it. Because I don't want to do the same thing that's already been done before. And even when I do parties, I try to use it as an opportunity to learn a new skill as well. So not only do I want to not give them the cookie cutter party that the last person had, but like what new technique can we try to give them that standout vibe too? So a lot of people will let you run with your ideas. A lot of people will. Sometimes I give options.
What's some of your favorite things you've done?
I definitely like the wall that we did for your Havana Nights.
That was really fun. That was really cool. We did a singles event, and it was like a Cuban Havana Nights vibe. So it had like a tropical
grass wall.
With
tropical
it
wall.
Was super,
that was
super
fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Let's see. Last year for my daughter's birthday, she's a Morgan Wallen fan. And so I did this whole Morgan Wallen backdrop. I don't know how I even squeezed it into my living room, but it's funny how you make things work when you need to, right? And every year we have like our annual family cookout, and I try to like do even more than I did the year before it, just to make it, different. And I just decorated my friend's wedding a couple weeks ago. The venue was gorgeous. It was in Wilkes-Barre, and it was like an old church, and we just did all candlelight. And
that sounds so pretty.
Yeah, it really set the vibe. And so, but just seeing their faces, and like they were really thrilled with the product and the outcome, and that made my day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't believe you didn't say Taylor Swift.
Oh, yes. Taylor. Well, the kids loved Taylor.
They did. We did a Taylor Swift party, and it was...
We were Taylor Swift out by the end of it, but the kids were loving it.
They still talk about it, actually.
Yes. Did you hang those frames up in your daughter's room?
Yeah, they're up there.
We did like Taylor Wall, all of her albums.
Yes,
and her daughter said, "Can I have those?" Oh, yes. You can have them all. And that's the look I got.
Yeah. And then we had these big disco like balloons that were hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
They're in her room, too.
She wanted those, too.
Yeah, it's lovely.
It's good to know it didn't get thrown away.
Tying with that, that obviously made an impact on her, but it's made an impact on all of your customers, clients, I guess we would call them. So how we kind of talk a little about impact versus intention,
yes,
and why your good intentions don't always, I guess, turn into a positive impact. So how do you make that happen, and what are... Yeah.
So I try to teach this to my students all the time, but it's impact over intention. So you have a lot of people set out with good intentions, I'm complimenting this person, for example, and my intention is to make them feel better, but the person doesn't take it that way. So we need to examine the impact, meaning like, where does it land? And if it doesn't land where you thought it was going to land, or you did harm something or someone or a relationship, you need to be aware enough to fix that. So it does require some emotional intelligence and empathy for others, but we need to consider it's not just an excuse like I had good intentions and then you walk away from the situation. You need to step into the situation more and say, but my impact wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and how am I going to mend this relationship? And sometimes the impact might even be better than what you thought it was going to be, but just being aware that your intention is not always how the situation ends.
Have you ever had a situation where you've been that person that maybe it didn't land well with, or vice versa, something you didn't land well with someone else?
Definitely. And I feel like that's why I started teaching that, because even with students, like, you might say something or feel like you're giving them props on what they're doing, and they might not take it that way. Like, it might be like, well, yeah, did you think I couldn't, or something like that? And I was always like, well, man, they weren't even grateful for that compliment. But if I get to know the child better and I get to understand where they might be coming from, like, they might think people don't believe in them. And so that could have been the impact. Like, she also didn't believe in me. And so I think it's communication and conversation. You can get to the bottom of, where those thoughts lie.
Yeah, those emotions.
Yes, instead of guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tend to do that a lot.
Yes.
I think a lot of people assume how others feel and not really take into consideration their own personal beliefs behind it, of why they might take a different way. Talking a little bit about emotions and coming from that point of view, how do we not feel like expressing our emotions are a sign of weakness?
Yeah, so I think that has been big in my life, but I think it's also like in our society, like if you show emotion, you're showing weakness, but really it's the opposite. You're just accepting yourself. I mean, I've been teaching students how to identify emotions this year, and how all emotions are okay. And accepting that you're going to be angry at times. You're going to be crying at times. And that's okay. It's just you being honest with yourself. It's self-acceptance. It's not, we shouldn't put ourselves down for having those emotions. And I think so much in our society, it's fast paced, and we just see people just keep moving, just suck it up, keep moving. Well, that's not healthy. And it leads to damaged relationships. It leads to self-harm even if we don't deal with what we're thinking and feeling.
Yeah. So where do we take that and kind of flip the script of it's not selfish by having those emotions and expressing those emotions. And, you know, how can we kind of, I guess, make the word selfishness not a negative connotation?
Yeah.
And really putting ourselves first in whatever capacity that is.
I think spaces like this are a good start. So have open conversations with people. The more that you practice that, the more you're likely to do it. Be willing to hear and act when you're communicating with someone. Listen to hear, not to respond, and that's difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
You want to join in, but if you really listen to hear people, it changes things.
Yeah.
So giving yourself and your relationships the ability to talk about their emotions. Let's stop and let's process. We move too quick and we don't give ourselves time to do that. And I think the more that we put it out there that it's okay and we give others the space to do it, the more likely they're going to do it to another person and pass it along. So, yeah, I think we start small.
Yeah.
And then it grows from there.
How do you create those spaces though? Because I have had it where I go to have a conversation with someone and, you know, knowing they're going through something and I want to create that space for them, but their emotional awareness or just their lack of being able to get to that point, they kind of cut you off and you can't have like an actual conversation with them. Are there any ways that we can navigate that? Or is it just like kind of walk away and be like, I'll come back to you when you're ready?
I think it's good that you gave them the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then they'll know that about you and they could always come back and circle around and know that you're a person that would listen.
Yeah.
The more that you build relationships, I think the more comfortable people are in expressing themselves. We also have to realize that not everybody has the same emotional intelligence. So you don't walk into a room and expect everyone to have the same academic intelligence. But we do assume that about emotions. And I would argue that emotional intelligence is more important than academic intelligence. Yes, I'm a teacher and I just said that. But if you can't navigate and regulate your own emotions, how are you going to interact with others?
Right. Yeah.
Really, how are you going to do that? So I think we need to, and that goes along with mental health. People who are emotionally intelligent are almost always better off with their mental health because they allow themselves to feel, they allow themselves to process, they allow themselves the space they need to be able to just process things. And that leads to better mental health.
Right. Exactly. I just say ride the ride. Whatever you're feeling, feel that emotion the whole way through.
I agree.
Mean, don't do anything rash or anything. Don't cut your hair, dye your hair, or get into a fight in the street. However, just ride the emotion.
Well, that leads to behavior. So your behavior is different. But you can feel however you want to feel.
So how do we create these spaces then? And we touched a little bit about it earlier, of it's more collaboration over competition, and then being around other people that are like-minded, or even if they're not like-minded, creating a space where they can be invited in, and eventually maybe one day they'll share and be open about that. What do you do, one, in your personal space that other people are attracted to that, and then what do you do in the entrepreneur world where they're attracted to that?
I definitely feel, I mean, as a teacher, building relationships is the most important thing. And so, and I don't have kids who are always willing to do that. It takes time and trust, and it takes sometimes difficult conversations and awkward conversations and days where it just doesn't even go well at all. And you're like, we're not getting anywhere. But it's patience and empathy, just realizing that everyone processes things different and not taking everything so personally. I'm a person who overthinks like every conversation that I have. And so maybe some of you can relate to that, but it's not being so hard on yourself and and just knowing that you did your best in that situation and trying to be supportive of others. So it's such a process to build those type of spaces. I don't think you walk into a situation and just feel comfortable right away. Like you have to have the trust.
Right.
And it has to be demonstrated to you through action a lot of the times. Mm-hmm. So time.
Okay. I feel
there's not like an easy answer. It's not like a formula, I don't think.
There's not.
Yes.
No, I agree. And especially in the entrepreneur world, like number one, in business, number two, with other women in a business that is predominantly women, it's really hard. It's very hard. And everyone has all these like conditionings or wiring where they're like, well, I don't freaking like her because she's in my space and she's doing what I'm doing. And like, so it's weird to try to navigate all that.
Or just like, I'm not as skilled as her right now. Or I don't know how she just figured out business and all of a sudden she's just doing so well, and we don't look at the whole process sometimes, and we make these quick judgments. And I think it's better if we just stop and have the conversations, and then we can build each other up too, because most of us started from the ground up.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's so business world is so different than education world. Yeah, because you're coming from a similar like 4-year degree where you have to have another, like there's a process to it all. It's not like that in the business world. Like you can just teach yourself on YouTube if you want. You can be a person who was like innately born with the skill. Like it's just so you can. Yes. And that's also why I find it so intriguing and so fun, because you're like expressing who you are and you get to do it however you want.
Yeah. And you get to have tens of thousands of different interests, and everyone's like, well, what is she doing now? Not knowing.
That's you can just do anything. She's like, oh, I want to cheerlead now, I want to do that. I'll start a team.
But I think like for me it comes from a place of like, my parents were immigrants, so when they came to this country they were like, cool, we aren't educated in anything, like let me open a pizzeria. And I grew up where I was on a milk crate ringing people up, at 4 years old. Like it was just kind of what I grew up with. So I was hustling Girl Scout cookies at 9. I was making popsicle stick frames at 6 years old, selling them for 50 cents. Like, cause I wanted candy from the candy stand at the farmer's market and I couldn't get money from my parents.
To do it.
Yeah. And so then, I had to pay for college because I moved out of my house when I was really young. And so I started a catering company selling box lunches on campus. And that's how I paid for college with no loans. So it's like, I've always kind of had this like, hustle. No one's going to save me. So I got to do it myself mentality. And I mean, that went from where I grew up with to owning 3 restaurants at one time to now a studio and this. So when you have the formula and you have the passion and you know your purpose, I feel like it just naturally flows no matter where you take that. There's certain things I know I don't want to do. I don't want to massage people. I do want to swing around a pole, but like I don't want to have a daycare because sometimes I can't stand my own kids. Yeah. Like I don't want to take care of other people.
We know our limits.
Yeah. But like you have a passion for, you said honestly, your purpose is making people happy.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And because I looked at what's similar in both things, and that is exactly what it is. Like I really find joy in having others find their joy and seeing them happy. And I always have. And we just decorated my classroom like a beach because at the end of the year, I let them pick the theme and they have to present it like they're the designers. And that's amazing. It also to keep the buy-in for a little bit, and they picked a beach. The whole classroom is a beach. There's blue tarps on the floor and we're swimming in inner tubes while we're learning.
Stop it.
But you know what? I just stand back and I'm like, I love the creativity, but then my students are helping me and they're learning to like love to be creative.
Yeah.
And I feel like those are the things that I love, helping people and being creative. And how can I do that in any way? And that's what brings me joy. And so my mission now, as I'm, getting older and trying to maybe switch up what I've been doing and known for a long time is, you know what, let me keep that in my mind and move forward with that. Like, maybe I don't know the exact path that designing will take me in, but like, I'm just going to be open to it.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to know, and this is something that I feel we are very much alike in. We don't have to know the how. We don't have to overthink every step of the path, but we know the vision and where we want to be, and that we want to be happy and fulfilled in that.
Yes.
And so we just allow life to kind of take us wherever that's supposed to be, because the destination is the same.
Yes. I would agree with that. It's
So-
hard to let go of the other part, though.
Yes, I know.
We're Google Doc kind of gals.
I love a good Google Doc, as I shared them today.
Right, and I hardly ever look at it again after I put it on paper, but I just need it for myself.
But that's what it is. You just need to like brain dump everything, organize your thoughts, overthink it while you're writing it up, and just
then
be
I
like,
can be done
"All right,
with
to hell with it." Yes, exactly. So now we'll kind of just tie everything in together. What does becoming look like now for you, as far as your alignment, authenticity, and kind of putting yourself together, what you would like to be?
Yes. So I thought about this huge question quite a bit, and you know what I want to be is, I think what a lot of us want to be is just happy.
Yeah.
And you just want to be able to live, going to work every day, doing what you feel passionate about. And I don't want to like have one thing that I'm passionate about forever. I kind of want it, because I have no regrets in being an educator, but what can I do now that I can fulfill other parts of my passion? And happy is a simple word, but I mean, truly, isn't that what we're all going for in the end? It's just how do we get there? And so then how do we accept ourselves and who we are as we age? And what does that mean? And it's not an easy journey. And so how do we do that? And so I'm navigating that right now. I am navigating my own children leaving the house soon, which is, how am I that old? But I mean, I'm navigating that, I'm navigating this, this new life that I'm going to have with my husband. Where will that take us?
Right.
And he's my biggest supporter in anything that I do. Like, he would just say, go for it, and mean it.
That.
So I love that. But and I think he's starting to realize what he signed up for when he said that. But
it's just starting too. He has no idea.
Right. He has no idea. But so that journey to happiness just looks like a lot of things. And that's just, it's a journey.
I'm actually really excited to see what new passions you come up with. Because just your eye for detail, your vision, and everything that just comes out in like whatever event you're doing, I can't imagine like what else you could put that to.
Oh, thank you, friend.
You're such
I think that about you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. So, share where to find you, where to find especially you, if you have anything coming up, anything like that.
Sure. So I can, especially you, Event Decor and Planning is our business name. You can find us on the website. You can find us on Instagram, and those will be there too right now that we're really sticking to. Nothing too major coming up right now, just like some graduation things and stuff like that. But
well, if you want to book her, you guys can go ahead and do that. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, once we wrap the school year, I'm excited to really dive in some more this summer and see where it takes me. So
I love that. I have a few things up my sleeve, so
perfect.
Well,
love to join in.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
That's it. Dun, dun, dun.
Yay! Thank you. Now we get